Back in his office at the rear of the chambers, Shire Clerk Shifty produced a large white handkerchief from his pants and, removing his thick glasses, blew his nose. Christ, he thought, things were tricky. Trickier than they had been since he had fled his home in New Zealand 25 years ago. He had landed in Brisbane, working as a stoker on a slow-moving cargo ship with the arse out of his pants and nothing but a few dollars and his passport in his pockets. Slapping his money on a rank outsider in the last race at Eagle Farm Racecourse, he got lucky and won a bundle. Rushing to the bookie to collect his winnings, he sent a good-looking woman coming the other way, flying. He helped her up and, feeling generous after his big win, invited her for a drink at the bar where they celebrated, knocking off several bottles of wine. The next thing he remembered was waking up beside her, nursing a massive hangover in a posh hotel. But his luck held. It turned out his drinking mate was Annabel Reid, who, though well past her prime, lived on a large sheep station in Western Queensland and was, she confided in him, the recipient of a hefty trust fund. On the money trail, Shifty invested the rest of his winnings on a major charm offensive. He wined and dined her, bought her expensive presents, and made passionate and expert love to her morning, noon and night. He also told her outrageous lies about his wealthy family back home, failing to mention that they had chucked him out years ago, or that the Kiwi coppers were waiting to throw him in the slammer should he ever decide to cross the Tasman. Annabel, whose biological clock was sitting at a minute to midnight and was desperate to land a mate, was sated with sex and overwhelmed with his lavish attention. When Shifty begged her on bended knee to make him the happiest man in the world and offered her his darling granny's engagement ring, bought from an outer-city hock shop the day before, what could she do? They were married by special licence and honeymooned extravagantly on the Gold Coast until their pooled resources ran out. Returning to the family property Redlands, Shifty was horrified to discover that his new brother-in-law, Bomber, was the keeper of Annabel's trust fund. But Bomber was a kind-hearted fellow who loved his little sister and was relieved to see her finally married. At first he made them welcome, but soon tired of Shifty loafing around the property sponging off him. "He's driving me crazy," he told his mate Paddy over a beer one night. "Wants to do the accounts, tells me how to run the place, wants me to build them a new house, want, and does bloody nothing all day. Can't even ride a bloody horse. Can you find the bastard a job? Get him out of my hair?" Paddy had a soft spot for Annabel, having spent several steamy sessions with her over the years. And he was a bit miffed that she'd gone off and married such a loser, but he couldn't stand by and see his mate Bomber in a fix, so he persuaded old Duke Edwards, the Shire clerk, who was pushing 96, to retire so Shifty could take his place. Bomber was so delighted to get rid of his brother-in-law, he released Annabel's trust fund, and the couple, armed with bucket loads of cash, went on a spending spree, buying a large home on the edge of town with a tennis court and swimming pool. Shifty, an undischarged bankrupt, the bailiffs were still looking for him, put everything in Annabel's name so he couldn't lose the lot. The new job was a gift from heaven for Shifty. It gave him complete control of council's finances, and within weeks he'd formed a syndicate with a couple of crooks, council works foreman Cyril Rowe and Shire engineer Phil Martin, siphoning off thousands of dollars of council funds. They had also invested a good lump of the Shire's rate revenue in a tax scam, growing early tomatoes in the Ord River region. Sadly for the Shire's budget bottom line, the tomatoes were never early enough for the market, but the tax savings they made were a grower's delight for them.